Lily lay in bed, staring at the ceiling of her dark room. Sleep refused to come, and thoughts about the next day swirled in her head, turning into terrifying images and anxieties. Tomorrow was another day at school, and again, those bullies would be there, doing things she just couldn't understand. Everything had been fine, until recently she used to have fun with her friends, but suddenly something changed. Why did her classmates start tormenting her? What had she done wrong? Her heart tightened with anxiety, and the more she thought about it, the more uneasy she became. Every day at school had become a trial. Threats, mockery, shoves in the hallways. It all seemed unbearable. Lily dreamed of being invisible, of not being noticed, of just being left alone. She tried to convince herself that tomorrow would be different, that maybe they would leave her alone, that everything would change, and she would be part of the group again. But deep down she knew it was just a dream, an illusion that would never come true. Suddenly her thoughts were interrupted by a strange noise coming from under the bed. It was a dull thud, followed by a faint knock. Lily froze. She didn't believe in ghosts or monsters, but at that moment her imagination played tricks on her. In the darkness, the sounds seemed scarier than they were. Lily struggled to breathe, trying to convince herself it was just her imagination. But fear spread through her chest, cold and sticky. The room became so quiet that she could hear her own heartbeat. Lily closed her eyes, trying to return to thoughts of school, to distract herself from the sounds. But it didn't help. Another knock came from under the bed. This time it was louder and clearer, as if someone or something was persistently trying to get her attention. Lily felt a shiver run down her spine. She didn't want to move, but fear and curiosity battled within her. Maybe it was just old pipes or the wind. But something about that sound was unnatural, alien. She couldn't ignore it. Gathering all her courage, Lily slowly got out of bed. Her body trembled, but she forced herself to move. Kneeling down, she cautiously peeked under the bed. At first glance, there was nothing there, just shadows and darkness. But as her eyes adjusted to the dark, she noticed something strange. Lily's gaze stopped on a small door handle. Almost invisible among the dust and old toys, her heart raced faster. She knew there was no door in the floor of her room. It was impossible, yet there it was, right in front of her. With a trembling hand, she reached out and, hesitating a little, grabbed the handle. The door was heavy, but Lily, straining, managed to open it. Beneath the door was a slide that descended into the darkness. A slide. Right in her bedroom? It was strange, absurd, but at the same time thrilling. Lily had always loved slides. She hesitated for only a moment before giving in and sliding down. Her descent felt long, as if she were sliding for an eternity. A strange rubbery smell filled her nose, mixed with something else, unfamiliar, causing slight dizziness. But Lily wasn't frightened instead. She felt joyful, and a smile spread across her face. The slide led her to a small cabin. Lily found herself in dim light, and the cabin's walls were lined with strange objects and old paintings. She felt like she was in a fairy tale. At the doorway stood an elderly woman, her face lit only by the faint glow of a lamp. "Hello, little one, I'm Bella, and this is the cabin of wishes," the woman said, and her voice was surprisingly warm and reassuring. "The cabin of wishes," Lily repeated, her heart beating with excitement. She felt that something amazing was about to happen. Bella nodded and motioned for Lily to enter. Lily didn't hesitate. Her curiosity overwhelmed her. She sat on the floor in front of Bella, who settled into an old rocking chair. "You see, child, every 10 years one of my doors appears under a child's bed. If the child is brave enough to come down, they are rewarded with a wish," Bella explained, her eyes gleaming in the dim light. Lily felt a surge of joy. Could she really make a wish? Could she change her life, get rid of her problems? The thought seemed incredible, but she believed it. Bella looked so wise and confident that doubting her words seemed pointless. "I want to make a wish," Lily blurted out, unable to contain her excitement. Bella smiled mysteriously and placed a crystal ball in front of Lily, which began to glow as soon as her fingers touched its surface. "Make your wish, child," Bella said softly, her voice sounding melodic and mesmerizing. Lily thought for a moment. She wanted to change everything that was happening around her, to get rid of the bullying and become someone special. And at that moment, an idea came to her that seemed perfect. "I want to be a fairy," she said. And her eyes lit up with anticipation. For a moment the room fell silent. Bella continued to smile, but her smile slowly began to change, becoming unnatural, frightening. Her teeth turned into sharp yellow shards, and her eyes, black as coal, widened to an abnormal size. "As you wish," she whispered, her voice sounding like a sinister murmur spreading through the darkness. At first, Lily felt nothing, but then her body was pierced by unbearable pain. She screamed, feeling her back being torn from the inside. She tried to resist, tried to scream, but the sounds came out as muffled sobs. Her hands clutched at her head, which began to change, her eyes multiplying, spreading across her face. "Help me. I don't want to be a fairy," she screamed, her cry echoing through the cabin. But it was already too late. Wings burst from her back, turning Lily into something that could hardly be called a fairy. She screamed and cried, realizing that her wish had turned into a nightmare. Suddenly, she woke up in her bed, drenched in sweat and tears. Her sheets were soaked with fear and despair. It was a dream, just a horrible dream. Lily closed her eyes, trying to convince herself that everything had been unreal, that she had nothing to fear anymore, but the fear didn't go away. From under the bed came the sound of a door slamming, followed by the sinister laughter of an old woman. Lily squeezed her eyes shut tighter, trying not to hear, not to believe that this was really happening. But the laughter grew louder. It penetrated her mind, filling it with horror and despair. She wanted to run away, to hide, but she was paralyzed with fear. She listened to the darkness, trying to figure out if it was all just her imagination, a trick of her mind, or reality from which there was no escape. Seconds felt like eternity, and each one brought more and more fear. The knocking resumed, louder and more insistent. Lily covered her ears with her hands, trying to drown out the sound. But it didn't stop. She felt the cold creeping into her room, the air becoming heavy and thick. Lily tried to breathe, but her breathing was shallow and erratic. She wanted to scream, but her voice was stuck in her throat. This time it was real. Or was it? Lily could no longer think. She could only feel the terror that had consumed her completely. She opened her eyes and slowly looked at the bed. There, under her bed, the door handle was visible again. It gleamed in the darkness, beckoning her. Lily realized she had no choice, that she would have to go down again, to dive back into the nightmare from which there might be no escape.